Hi, I'm Johnny from ultimatepapermache.com, and today I'm going to show you how I painted this snow leopard.
The snow leopard took about 2 days to finish, so this was a really fast project. The painting style is probably more crafty than fine artsy, but I still think it looks pretty nice. The model was made with clay, like the lion I made last year. I used a cardboard pattern to get the profile right and then just filled in the rest using photographs that I found online. And then I covered the clay with 2 layers of plaster cloth and removed the clay from inside the mask when the plaster was hard enough to handle. It only took about 10 minutes. This is the way I made the gorilla mask. You can see both the lion and the gorilla on my YouTube channel or on my blog at ultimatepapermache.com. When the clay was all out of the inside, I went ahead and mixed up some of the air dry clay recipe, which you can also find on my blog, but I used only a half a cup of flour instead of the full amount that is called for in the recipe. The mixture was very smooth but really gooey. I spread on a paper thin layer to cover the woven texture of the plaster cloth, really smoothed it out very, very thin with my finger, and I let it dry for a few hours. Then I added another very thin layer of the same mixture, and I scratched it with a broken dowel that I found in my studio to make the fur texture. I covered the plaster cloth on the inside of the mask too, just to make it look nicer. And it also gave me a way to attach the brass hanger so I can put it up on the wall. I let the entire mask dry over a furnace vent overnight. In the morning, I mixed ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and white to make a very light, slightly warm gray. I covered the entire mask, including the eyes. This was the base color of the mask. Then I added white and went back over the lighter areas of the face, under and above the eyes and on the muzzle. The white was added to the gray, so it wasn't completely white, but it wasn't quite light enough the first time around. So I did this several times, adding more white each time until I felt that the contrast was good enough. Snow leopard's eyes are almost gray with a little bit of green and yellow showing. At least that's the way it looks in most of the photos I could find. I mixed some Naples yellow with a lot of water to make it transparent and washed this over the eyes. This was the base coat. The pink nose came out too pink the first time, so I repainted it with a lighter version of the same color, using cadmium red light, a hint of Naples yellow, and a small amount of raw sienna. I used a pencil to block in the spots and the dark areas around the eyes. The pupils and the outline around the eyes were painted with black, made with ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and Mars black. It's a warmer mixture than Mars black alone. The spots down the center of the nose are a very transparent gray, and I also used a transparent gray on all the other spots, but then painted them over again with almost black. So most of the spots are actually two-toned, which looks rather nice. I darkened a few of the areas on the mask, like on the cheeks and on top of the nose and near the ears, with a little bit more very transparent gray. And I darkened the inside of the ears and between the ears. So I ended up with basically 3 colors on the mask: the base coat that I had put on previously, the slightly darker gray, and then the white like on the muzzle and around the eyes. I coated the eyes with a soft gel, acrylic, like I did when I painted the dog's eyes in a previous video. And then when that dried, I washed on a very thin layer of chromium oxide green. It was grayed down with just a little bit of the gray that was left over from the spots. It was very transparent with a lot of water. And by this time, the color of the eyes was very close to matching the photos that I found. But I did add a little bit more green later, just because I liked the way it looked. I should have done that now, but I didn't, so I went ahead and did it later. I added a small spot of very light blue for reflection on the eyes. That was made just from ultramarine blue and titanium white. And I did thin that out with just a little bit of water to make it transparent. That should be done after the eye was completely painted, but like I said, I did go back with a little bit more green later. I sealed the mask once the paint was dry with matte acrylic varnish. I usually wait and do this later, but since this is a very light mask and I'm going to be using a glaze that I want to be able to pull back off again, I wanted to make sure that none of that glaze soaked in and darkened the mask too much. When the acrylic varnish was dry, I mixed up the glaze with burnt umber and ultramarine blue, making a very dark, very warm gray. And I added golden acrylic glazing liquid to that to make it transparent and to slow down the drying time. I brushed it over the mask and then rubbed it off first with a dry paper towel on the darkest parts of the face, and then with a wet paper towel to remove almost all of the dark glaze from the white areas. This brings out the fur texture on the cat, but really left very much color, although it did warm up the tone just a little bit, which was actually needed. And then when that was dry, I used a matte acrylic varnish on the entire mask, except for the eyes, and then put on 2 coats of clear fingernail polish over the eyes themselves.
So that didn't take very long, 2-day project, and I think it came out rather nice. I kind of like her. My cat has no opinion whatsoever. If you make anything out of paper mache and you'd like to show it off, please come over to ultimatepapermache.com. We would love to see what you're up to. Also, I want to let you know that we have had some really interesting guest posts lately. A lot of people who do post out on my blog don't make videos, so you might not have caught some of the work, and it's just some of the things that they're putting up there is really incredible. Nick Allen, for instance, put up a post about some dinosaurs that he's been making, and they end up in European museums, so you know they're good. I want to make sure that you catch those, so come on over, show off your work, enter the conversation, and have fun. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.